Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Seeds of Death, written by Brian Hayes and directed by Michael Ferguson. This episode, all the episodes survive in the BBC archives, and it's a 6-part adventure. And so the Seeds of Death. It has a bit of a reputation. Not that it's like one of the worst, but it's not like one of the best either. It's sort of like in the middle ground. Though the Ice Warriors here are usually said to be a lot better than the Ice Warriors in their first story. So, is it? In the first episode, the Doctor lands in a space museum, not the space museum from the space museum, but a different space museum. And they meet with this guy who basically, he used to collect rockets, and he was fascinated with rockets, but they became obsolete. And there's now these teleporting pods. You go into it and it teleports you to wherever another pod is. And the main base of it is on the moon. And I just want to say, I love this concept. As somebody who loves obsolete stuff, the retro, you could call it, this kind of story, this character really grabbed my attention. And I like how he's a bit wary, he's a bit down and beaten. And and there's a great scene where this museum, his collection, it isn't actually for public viewing. So when he sees a doctor who's in the museum, he puts a gun to him, and he thinks that they've come to mock him about his old-fashioned ways. And slowly through the conversation, the doctor has to convince him that they are. And there's a great bit where he's looking at like a model, which is just fascinating, because Doctor Who around this time used a lot of model shots for like ships and stuff. But they actually have a model in the story as well, so that's really cool. And then the guy explains what fascinates him about why it works. Like, it's the first one with a certain engine, and the way it blasted revolutionized rocket that would have taken them beyond the moon. But then TMAT, this teleport system, came into effect. And yeah, I think this part of the plot has actually... you hear things, they don't age well. I think this actually ages better, as I think a lot of people can relate, especially someone like me who loves VHS when DVD was coming in, and then when Blu-ray and digital and streaming all that and kind of stuff. I kind of like to stick to the DVD and the VHS for it's more reliable and stuff. So I really gravitate to this character, and I love how there's a great bit where they go to the background and Jamie and Zoe, they're in the foreground, and Jamie's says to Zoe, they're like a bunch of kids with their toys. That's a brilliant line. Jamie and Zoe are a lot of fun in here. They get a lot of bits into the story, and especially Zoe in this one. There's even a great bit where later on in the story they get sent on a mission, and the Doctor didn't really plan to Jamie to go. He just wanted Zoe, and then they have a little banter, a lot of fun. But not all as well as on the moon base. Yes, a moon base. A lot of retreading in this story. Not like it's copying, more like it's borrowing elements. Like we have a space museum, and now we're back on a moon base. So we get this we get scenes in the moon base, and we find out it's getting overtaken by ice warriors, and this time they're actually called ice warriors. In the story Ice Warriors, they weren't actually named. The name Ice Warrior actually comes from somebody who studies it, and they say it's like an ice warrior, isn't it? Or something like that. Or it's the Ice Warrior because they found it in the ice. But here, they've retconned it, so now they're actually being called the Ice Warriors. It doesn't really bother me, but it is a note that some fans may be angry if I didn't point out. And here, I think the story kind of dips a bit in quality, especially around episodes 2 and at the start of episode 3, as we get this sort of plot in of they turn the T-Mat machines off so nobody can really teleport anywhere. And we get the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe have to go in a rocket, which that bit's cool. But then when they actually go in the rocket, for some reason the story takes it a lot longer for them to pace it out wise. And when they're on the rocket, it does kind of dull a bit. And even when they get onto the moon base, I don't think it's as interesting. There's a great run around scene, but it's only great as in it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of quick editing. In terms of it actually being a great story-driven moment, it's actually not very well. The Ice Warrior, he has a prisoner and he spots the Doctor and I can't remember who else, somebody else was with him, and he's about to shoot the Doctor, and then the prisoner, the person you think, can easily run away, and then they all spread out, and this chase scene is just, something about it just doesn't work, in my opinion. You see a lot of running around, but there's no clear sense of direction. The Doctor zaps back and forth like a Scooby-Doo cartoon, but because we don't get any geography to this place, and the Ice Warrior and the Doctor, it's never really shown how far or close they are, the tension doesn't really build up. But you do get a lot of great fun moments with Patrick Troughton. His physical acting in this is astonishing. The way he moves, the way he spins around to look behind him as he runs. It's something that Matt Smith really took elements from. This is probably, I've probably said this a few times in this marathon, but this is probably Patrick Troughton at his most Matt Smithy, if that makes any sense. Especially when he plays a bit of a fool and he's got the whole fascination with rockets and stuff. I think that's something a lot of Matt Smith, it feels like. But yeah. Now, whilst we're at here in the moon base, it starts off, in my opinion, really slow. And I was sitting watching it thinking, right, I'm going to have to hit some points on this. And I'm going to have to, I think I might give it a negative review because, you know, I'm not enjoying it that much. There's a bit weak elements and, you know, it's not really doing anything. Directing wise, it's a bit bland at the moment. The way it's shot, there just are some cool scenes, like some POV shots for the Ice Warriors at the start of episode 1. It doesn't really stick out, and it's just a lot of generic shooting for most of the story. And then the halfway point hits, and suddenly it's like really engaging in terms of story and directing. On the moon base set, they have like a platform, and then there's this like big like wall of light, and then under the director, it's like Michael Ferguson realised that would make great silhouettes. In one of the cliffhangers, Zoe actually goes up there because on the other side, there's a panel that turns the heating up, which would kill the Ice Warriors. So she's trying to get there, and the Ice Warrior spots her. And you see her silhouette, and that makes a cliffhanger, and it's absolutely stunning. And from that point on, the story just moves at a break pace, as a lot of great camera angles, a great story. There's a lot of going on. There's a character who was working at the moon base who he's basically a coward, and he starts working for the Ice Warriors because he doesn't want to die. And it happens in episode 1. In episode 2 and 3, he's just sort of there. But then halfway during episode 3 and then into episodes 4, 5 and 6, he becomes a really interesting character. You can really see his point of view when the guy's acting and the zooms up. Like I said, the directing suddenly just takes a massive quality boost. You really feel for this guy that, at any moment these monsters are going to kill him. So he's kind of like forced to, but he's too coward to do anything about it. And there's a great moment where the doctor gets kidnapped. And the doctor's like, I just want to look at these pods. And you're going to help me. And you're going to like whether you like it or not. And this guy is like, no, they're going to kill us. And then the doctor's like, okay, I'll just have to do it alone. But just to let you know, if I get caught, they'll probably just kill us both anyway. And then that guy helps distract an Ice Warrior so that the doctor can look at this pod. And that's really cool. It shows how manipulative this second Doctor is. A lot of people talk about how he's like a cosmic hobo. But what makes the second Doctor so great is that there's just a layer of darkness within his character that's hidden in this buffoonish manner. Something which would not get really a big emphasis until the 7th Doctor era. But so the Doctor then gets to look at these seeds. However, he gets spotted as the guy who gets distracted and didn't account for another Ice Warrior in the room. And you think, okay, they're screwed basically. And then he's like, he tells the Doctor to pick up one of the pods, and the Doctor picks up, and it bursts in his hand, and the directing in it is like it suddenly like blows up in his hand. There's gas everyone. The Doctor just collapses. Very great cliffhanger, which leads into part 5, which doesn't actually have Patrick Troughton in it as he was on holiday. But the story still picks up really well as the Ice Warrior commands this guy to basically send the Doctor's body into outer space, killing him, as this pod for some reason didn't kill him. And the guy does it, but his body gets teleported into a small like cabinet room founded by Zoe and Jamie. And the story then takes Zoe's and Jamie's point of view, and you can really, something about it just really works, how intense the scenes get with them and the Ice Warriors. It's just, I can't really describe it. It's mainly the directing that sells it. There's some great shots of silhouettes in this scene. And there's a great scene as well where they start sending these pods onto Earth, and they explode and make gas, and they put gas on the planet, and it makes these big foams. And you see an Ice Warrior then crash into I think it's the London TMAT. In one of the really cool scenes, you see these two guys, the one who owns the museum and the guy who owns TMAT, are talking about like what should they do now, that they still haven't got like transmissions from the moon base. Have the Doctor failed? Have they succeeded? What's going on? And the camera then suddenly just zooms up onto the TMAT. A Ice Warrior just appears into it and smashes the entire door down, which looks like it really damaged the set. and then he just murders a bunch of security guards. And it's just fascinating to watch. And there's a great bit where it goes into a hall, and the guy who owns the T-Mat, he gets up one of the guards' guns, runs to the Ice Warrior, but then he comes back really quick and he just says, he's murdered them all. That is just stunning. Just wow, what? How did this come from a story which in episodes 2 and most of episode 3 was just really weak? It's just suddenly like the writer and the director, Brian Hayes and Michael Ferguson, had like an adrenaline shot in their arm, and they were like, right, we're going to make one of the coolest looking Doctor Who stories. I especially love the scenes outside in with all this foam. Yes, we're using foam again as a threat. Wow, I don't know, just realise until doing this that there's a lot of rehashing in this. Not like it's taken big element, but only like little elements from different stories, which you'll see again as later on in the story we find out that these things, the foam's weakness is actually water, which I find pretty funny. It does kind of underline the threat of it, but you know, so this Ice Warrior has to go to this base to destroy a device which controls the weather. Yes, we are having another story which has a snow weather rain machine. This is like I believe it's the 3rd or 4th time this has happened in the second Doctor story. Which is really weird. We always talk about bus stories, but we never talk about stories revolving around weather controlling machine stories. I've probably said stories like 5 times then. But anyway. And that's a really cool scene. And later on, Zoe, when they find out then that the weakness is water and they need to get to the weather machine, Zoe and Jamie can't get in contact with them. So they go into this base, not realising that there's an Ice Warrior there. But the rest of our crew know, when the Doctor realises, and he gets caught up into it, and so he chases them. Now, there's an infamous scene where Zoe opens the door for the Doctor, who gets consumed. The cliffhanger to part 5 is the Doctor just bang on the door, worrying himself as the foam comes up. This poisonous foam, and you can see one of those ball things coming up ready to explode right in his face, which is gonna, if hits him, will probably kill him. And that's our cliffhanger, and it's really stunning. However, when it gets resolved in part 6, Zoe opens the door, and Patrick Troughton, the actor now, actually fell. And you can see on the woman who plays Zoe's face, she is laughing her ass off, which was a great fun to watch. It is a blooper, but I think it still actually works in terms of the story. I mean, yeah, the threat level is high, and you do kind of be like, right, it's supposed to be a serious moment, Zoe. You know, why are you laughing at the Doctor who nearly got poisoned? But I think it does actually feel like a Zoe thing to do. I mean, she hasn't been known to take threats so seriously that she can't like laugh straight away afterwards. She does have a bombastic personality. So, despite it being a flub, I think it is actually part of the narrative. But anyway, and so the Doctor has to deal with this Ice Warrior by developing this device that basically shoots heat, and he's got, I think, these really cool like big like satellite things that he holds up. And we get then to our ending as they get the T-Mat working, and the Doctor finds out that on the moon base the Ice Warriors have a machine that will send the army fleet there. They work out the signal, but the Doctor has to disarm it. And so the Doctor goes in there alone, and you see him kind of fidgeting with it. Oh, this is a massive spoiler, by the way. So there you go. The Doctor's fidgeting with it, and Ice Warrior then comes forth and is like, "You have failed. The signal is still going," and the Doctor's like, "Yes, I have failed, and I almost had you as well." And he's talking to him, and he's coming up with these bits of more detail to keep the Ice Warriors, to keep him alive, and you can see that that's his mind process in Patrick Troughton's amazing acting. And then all of a sudden, you see the ships all fall into the sun, as the Doctor then reveals that, yes, he kept the signal going, but so weak that it could only be heard in the room. He's keeping only, so the Ice Warriors think that their signal was going out, but in reality it wasn't. That sums up what makes the second Doctor so brilliant. He's always got the card before everyone else. But he plays the fool. He plays like he has like a poker face, an excellent poker face, basically. How, people make him out as if he's just this idiot, but in reality, he is the smartest man in the room. And there you go. That's the Seeds of Death. I was thinking, whilst watching it at the start of it, this might be one of the weaker ones, but like I said, suddenly around about midway, half of part 3, the story suddenly just takes an adrenaline shot, and in terms of acting, directing, writing, all of it, over the board, just makes this story really stand out in my eyes. I highly recommend it. I think it's amazing. But, however, it is important to note that the story isn't well popular, so a lot of you might not feel the same way. So, go in with my request, but do bear in mind that it is just my request. So there you go. That's the Seeds of Death. So join me next time, where we will go on to the last missing story in the Space Pirates. So I'll see you then.